Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And thank you for our co-host today. I am your host today, Crystal Perez. I'm the Education and Outreach Supervisor here for Inland Caregiver. And our co-host for today is Andrea. Andrea, I hope I'm saying your last name right. It's Andrea Deaton.
Yep, that's right.
Andrea Deaton. She's from Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health from the Prevention and Early Intervention, or the PEI. And she's a staff development officer. So welcome, Andrea. I know I kind of asked you last minute, but thank you for being available to come to our podcast.
My pleasure, Crystal. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today to talk about mental health and why mental health is so important for us to be talking about, particularly in the month of May, which is May is Mental Health Matters Month. So I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and so when I asked Andrea to come, like she said, May is mental health. So we have two, there's more, but really two big ones that we want to celebrate for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And then we also celebrate Older Americans Month. So we'll tie in both. I do want to start with mental health awareness because it is a big one. And I know here at ICRC, it's an important topic for us, for both our caregivers and our seniors. And just anyone in the community. We also focus with our staff members. So I'll start off, what is mental health? Why are we celebrating it, and what does it mean?
Yeah, so I think it's important for us to really recognize and talk about mental health because it's something that everybody has. Everybody has mental health, just like physical health. Everybody has their good days of physical health, maybe some days where we're not feeling so great physically. And the same thing is true for our mind and our emotions. And so we need to make sure that we're talking about mental health in ways that we can take care of ourselves when we're not feeling so great, and ways that we can continue to take care of ourselves when we are feeling good. And so bringing awareness just exactly to that concept that mental health is something that we all manage on a daily basis, and that it is different from mental illness. Having a mental illness is something that a smaller number of our population, about 20% of the US adult population, experiences having a diagnosable mental health condition. But even that is still separate from our daily mental health and how we manage that.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So I know that sometimes they say mental health is a little taboo. I know, at least for me in my culture, I'm Mexican, so growing up it was very, you don't go to therapy, you don't talk about your problems because everyone has problems. You just suck it up, rub some dirt on it. It wasn't until I got into undergrad and I really started going to, taking different classes. And I actually started at ICRC that they encouraged counseling and support groups so much that I actually understood the importance of it. What do you think is that barrier, or why do you think we still have that taboo of people think of mental health and think of, like you said, mental illness, which it's not the same?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and something that we really strive to work toward changing in prevention and early intervention on a daily basis in the work that we do. So really the big barrier is stigma. There's so many different things that go into what stigma is, the shame around talking about seeking help and not promoting help-seeking behaviors. And then you mentioned a really important piece already, Crystal, is the cultural aspect. Each culture looks at mental health and mental illness and talking about our problems and seeking help in very different ways. And so that's of course going to influence the way that we engage with those topics, whether that's just in our family or in our communities. That always plays a role. And so we really work to break that stigma. That's one of the big things that we do here in prevention and early intervention is stigma reduction work. And we do so across culture. So we look to engage our cultural communities throughout Riverside counties. We're a really diverse county in helping and finding ways for our communities to get access to information that's culturally relevant and helps them to understand how to find help, that talking about mental illness or talking about mental health is not a bad thing. It's not shameful. It doesn't make you weak, right? All of these messages that we might receive in, growing up. So we're really looking to incorporate that cultural perspective, which is so important in these conversations. And really one of the biggest ways to start to break some of these barriers is just to have conversations, to talk about mental health. So you having me here today is one big step towards reducing stigma around mental health and mental illness. So really starting to have conversations, talk to people when you're not feeling well. And that's really the first step, and sometimes the hardest step too at the same time.
I know one of our staff members, she on her social media, she follows or shares different mental health posts on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not an Angels fan, but I did see that the Angels players, they were wearing green. I don't know what it was. I guess it was like a little pin on their jerseys or on their uniforms.
They have a lime green ribbon patch on their uniforms this month. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and I thought it was so cool because I'm like, okay, there, even if it's just a small little ribbon, it brings some awareness because like our staff member, like it's like, well, what's that green, what's that green ribbon or what does it mean? And then I especially liked it because I also think that men, like I said, in my culture, men, it's even worse because it's like, well, men don't cry, men don't.
For sure.
So baseball is a very, what is it? The American
pastime. Yeah. So the lime green ribbon is the like the symbol of the mental health movement. That's the color for mental health awareness. And we have some partners that we work with at the state level. They just launched a new campaign, kind of rebranded from Each Mind Matters to Take Action for Mental Health. So that lime green ribbon for California comes from, is kind of in partnership with Take Action for Mental Health. And the Angels, I am a huge baseball fan, not an Angels fan either, Crystal. But the idea that Angels and how they got involved with this, Mike Trout's brother actually died by suicide. And so mental health awareness and suicide prevention is a really important cause to him personally. And they work really closely, the team does, with the Orange County Department of Mental Health to partner and get the word out there about mental health awareness. And you brought up a really great point, that men in particular are often conditioned not to talk about how they feel, not to admit when something doesn't feel right or their emotions. And baseball is a huge male-dominated sport in watching and obviously in playing. And so bringing awareness to those conversations in that context in sports, I think is really crucial and really critical so that young kids that look up to these athletes see them talking about mental health and supporting these causes so that they start to learn a different narrative as they grow up and get older. It's really important. So yes, lime green ribbons all the way. And it's a really important thing. And I love that you pointed out that you saw it somewhere that you wouldn't normally expect to see mental health being talked about. And that's at a baseball game. And I love that the Angels do that. Even though I'm not a fan of their team, I love that they are incorporating something I'm so passionate about into one of my other passions.
Yeah, and I mean, when I saw it, same like you, like I didn't really, I mean, I know of the green ribbon and I knew a little bit of it because of the profession that I work in, but it was great to see it in, especially in Orange County. I mean, that's just a county away.
Yeah, our neighbor not too far away. And it's really helpful to to start pointing that out to people. Like I remember last season watching a game and they had a Directing Change commercial come on. Directing Change is another program through our partners at the state level around bringing awareness to mental health and suicide prevention for our younger population, so primarily middle school through college age, where it's actually a film contest where they have folks submit videos in different categories like mental health matters or through the lens of culture. They also have a Spanish language category for sanamente. And they played one of their county submissions as a commercial during the Angels game. And so they're really working hard to incorporate this kind of throughout their county, which is awesome. And we do a lot of similar work here in Riverside County. We don't have a baseball team to partner with, but we really work to get the word out there to our community in ways that's really accessible, either through our programming or through our partnership with Directing Change in our schools. And we also even have a website specific to Riverside County to help promote mental health awareness, suicide prevention information, resources, crisis resources. So I encourage anyone listening to go to uptoriverside.org, and you can find all kinds of information and resources that are specific to Riverside County for help or just for more information.
Andrea, can you give us that website one more time for anyone that's listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So our local campaign around mental health awareness and getting information into the hands of our local community is up2riverside.org. That's up the number 2 riverside.org. And that is our local campaign to get, again, mental health resources, crisis resources, suicide prevention information, and resources about the programs that we have available here in prevention and early intervention out into the hands of the community. That's really what needs to happen and to help bring awareness and spread the word.
All right, so I do want to take this time to transition it just a little bit because I might be a little biased, but I mean, I do work with older Americans and
Sure.
caregivers, and it is Older Americans Month. And I, ever since starting this profession, I mean, I never saw myself working with older Americans. As an undergrad, and, you know, usually when we go into college, it's children, you know, we want to work with children, which I do love children. I would love to work with them, but I see now the value so much in working with older Americans.
Yeah.
Because my parents and my grandparents are aging themselves. I'm
Right.
aging myself.
Right.
I know eventually I'll get there. Hopefully, hopefully time goes a little bit slower because it's kind of going too fast, but I know eventually I'll get there. Hopefully. Like I said, my parents are there. So what is it, or what advice can you give us to tie in mental health with Older Americans Month?
That's a really great question, Crystal. So older Americans, those 80 and over, are actually the fastest growing population in the United States, followed by Americans 100 years of age and over. That's the second fastest growing population in the US, which is incredible that we have folks living this long. That's amazing. Something that generations ago definitely didn't see. And the amazing thing about us getting older in our brains is, guess what? We still have mental health. We still have to manage and take care of that. And I think there's this perception in the world and in our society that as we age and get older, it's normal, quote unquote, for us to be sad or depressed or down. And that's just not the case. Absolutely not true. That depression is not a normal part of aging. And I would love if we can break that idea out there that when you get older, you are automatically going to be sad. That's not true, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I think it's important that we continue to talk about mental health with our older adults. I actually have the great privilege of working with ICRC and specifically on 2 of our PEI programs that target our older adult population. So we have 2 programs that are specific to serve folks that are ages 60 and over. One of them is a depression treatment therapy program, and the other is a problem-solving program that helps to alleviate symptoms of depression. So we're really trying to target older adults and our older Americans and their symptoms of depression so that they can continue to live really fulfilling, healthy, mentally well lives well into their aging years.
Andre, if I can ask you, maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but say that we have a listener who might be having thoughts, you know, maybe I am sad, or I am they're transitioning, you know, as we age, we transition a lot. We retire, our children go off to college, and then we're left alone. So maybe they don't want to necessarily say that they're depressed. They just have some sad days. And they're not ready to do a PEI program. They're not ready to give ICRC a call and say, hey, I want to do the Pearls program. What would you encourage them to do?
So first, I would encourage them to reach out to someone, to talk to a friend, a relative, somebody that they trust, and engage in some kind of social connection. The last 2 years in particular have been really challenging for everyone, but our older adults in particular really got put in further isolation because it was dangerous in a lot of ways, right? We were being told it was dangerous for our older adult family members, our friends, our loved ones that we know that were aging to be around other people. And so now that hopefully that cloud is lifting a little bit, engaging with folks and being social is one thing that I would suggest somebody do. I would also suggest someone who's maybe starting to recognize that they're not feeling their best, that they're not maybe ready to engage in like a full program like you're saying, Crystal. Find some ways to be a little bit more active, kind of keeping, of course, your own physical limitations in mind, if there are any. Try to do more things that you enjoy. go outside and take a walk. Being outside in nature is really good for us now that the weather is warming up and we can get some good sunshine. Simple things like that can be really helpful for us. So connect to someone, be a little more active, and get some time outside can be simple things that we can do, which are good for all of us to do, not just our older adult friends, but all of us to engage, to start to take good care of our mental health. But really, it's that connection piece, I think, is something that has been lacking for a lot of our older adults for the last couple of years. And so that social activity can be really, really helpful. Just, chat with someone, talk to somebody can be really a simple thing that can be really helpful for us to start to feel better and not feel so alone.
And we always say, I know I just had a meeting with one of the supervisors, or she's the supervisor for both the programs.
Yeah.
And she said, even if you're not ready to participate or to do what we call an intake or an assessment for the program, she said, still call in. Sometimes we're still a resource center. If we can't give you help or if we can't give an ear, we can refer you to something else, or at least we can just be that 5-10 minute talk that that you need to talk. Sometimes we just get callers that call in and say, mom's frustrating me.
Yeah.
She's doing this or she's doing that. It's just, they just call to vent. And sometimes I've noticed that it's really just validating that it is tough. It's tough out there. Like you said, COVID has been tough. Aging is tough right now. There's financial issues. So for anyone listening, if you do just want to give us a call, I'm not going to say we're 24 hours because we're not a crisis agency, but Monday through Friday, give us a call at 800-675-6694. Andrea, I don't know if Riverside University Health System has like a crisis line or.
Yeah, actually, Riverside County, we are so lucky to have our own 24-hour suicide prevention helpline available in our county at 951-686-HELP. So 951-686-4357. That's a 24-hour crisis line that's available to folks that live or work anywhere in Riverside County. And the folks that staff that line and the volunteers that they have working there are so knowledgeable and compassionate and just really deeply care about the folks that call in and are able to give them really wonderful resources available to them throughout Riverside County. So that's the beautiful thing about having our own local helpline, is that they're really well versed in the resources that are available in Riverside County. But there is, of course, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK, which is also another really wonderful resource. And there's even a crisis text line, which is also available 24/7. You can text home, hello, or start 741-741 and receive support from a licensed crisis counselor via text.
Perfect. That's great information and great to have the phone numbers. The last resource that I want to leave anyone who's listening, I know that we work together and you're going to partner up with us. We are having a health and wellness week in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month. So on Wednesday, May 18th from 1 to 3 p.m., Andrea will be presenting, I believe also with another coworker. She's going to be here talking about self-care and wellness. So our conference, our sub-theme is Thriving Through Self-Care and Resiliency. I'm really excited for this conference. It seems like it's going to be a good topic, how to manage stress and how to build resiliency. So for those who are interested in getting more information, you can always visit us online. We have an event page and it has the registration link. Again, that's Wednesday, May 18th from 1 to 3. And our website at inlandcaregivers.org, it has the registration link on our events page. Andrea, thank you so much for coming. Is there anything else that maybe something I missed, an idea that you want to give? I don't know, a tip, a suggestion?
I guess I can just leave you with some information about the unit that I work for. Prevention and Early Intervention is funded through the Mental Health Services Act. So we've been in existence since 2010. We've been working to provide programming to our community to help prevent the onset of mental illness or intervene early, increase help-seeking behaviors and increase protective factors and reduced risk factors. We also do stigma reduction, as I talked about earlier, and we do a ton of work around suicide prevention. And some of that includes offering training at no cost to our community. So we offer a few different suicide prevention trainings to the Riverside County community. I would encourage anyone listening to reach out to PEI@ruhealth.org to get more information on how to get trained in suicide prevention to help make Suicide County or Riverside County, excuse me, a suicide safer place. There we go. Those are the words I wanted. So we really want to train everyone that lives or works in Riverside County in some form of suicide prevention, because we can't talk about mental health and leave out the idea that we need to talk about how to help folks stay safe from suicide. So we would love to train anyone listening. We have a variety of trainings that can be done in person and online. As Crystal mentioned, I'll be sharing one of our online trainings next week with the with the wellness conference. So we have a couple of others that we can do online, but really making sure that we get information into the hands of our community to help with mental health awareness and suicide prevention.
Andrea, thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do here in Riverside County. You know, it's definitely not overseen, and it's very much appreciated. I know it's appreciated for us here at ICRC, and we appreciate your collaboration. I thank you so much for coming to the podcast last minute and having this information for all of our listeners today.
It was my pleasure, Crystal. Thank you so much for asking me to be here to talk about this really important topic about mental health and why it's important for us to have these conversations. And I really enjoyed being with you today. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.